Well, if this happens in college football, we really are going to have a slightly different game moving forward. Dean Leggy, Matt DeBerry. Matt, there's a discussion bubbling up about starting a 2-minute warning in college football. From the coaching world, trying to get it through NCAA bylaws. There's some other stuff too. The ACC, if I'm not mistaken, is going to try to have um, uh, what are they? What are the microphones in the ears? You know what I'm talking about? Like the NFL's got
Headset.
the headsets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't use headsets, so um, yeah. But your comment on what would change in college football games if you had a 2-minute warning? Let me just preface it by saying this: whenever you watch an NFL game, in my opinion, it's like the game doesn't start until the 2-minute warning of each half. I mean, you often have multiple scores in a 2-minute period, and Matt, half the game they're not doing anything. They're not scoring at all. So, what is the magic of the 2-minute warning, and what would that? How would that change college football?
I think it would just be from a strategic standpoint, right? The coaches who are very good in game coaching can manage the clock. Some coaches are very good at that, some aren't. It's a strength and a weakness for a lot of guys. So I just think from that perspective, just knowing when to use timeouts, how many do you save after the 2-minute warning if you're down late in the game and the opponent's kind of milking that clock. But these games can be really long. I think this would just add to these games, just dragging out maybe a little bit too much. But again, football's football, and if you've got a close game at the 2-minute warning for either team, I think it's another good opportunity for everyone to kind of get their breath, strategize, and then really get after it, give everything you have for that final 2 minutes of the game.
I'll tell you what. There is a stereotype that college football games last too long. I do think there are some that are absolutely painfully long. And Georgia started the year with one of those against Tennessee Martin. That game was extremely long. It was actually
Yeah.
one of their longest of the year. The game against Alabama, everybody was talking about CBS timeouts. That was one of Georgia's shortest of the year.
Yeah.
Um, so, this is a TV product. It's going to be what it is. I mean, I'm not. It would change the game. I mean, do you know the origin of the 2-minute warning? Warning.
I do not know the origin of
All right, here
the
we
2-minute
go.
warning. Let's go.
All right,
Professor
story
Dean.
time. Story time with
Yeah.
Dean and Matt. Back right when the Falcons were a baby franchise in the '60s and early '70s, before you really had digitized timing, the television networks, not really them, but the NFL itself didn't have a way to say, okay, this is how much time is left in the game. That's what the 2-minute warning was for. And during that break that the NFL would have to set the clock, of course, all we see the scoreboard, but all time is kept on the field. So at that point in time, you would say, okay, there's 2 minutes left in this game, and that's it. We're going to go to TV timeout, which just happened. But that's the origin of the 2-minute warning.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah,
I think it feels long to us because in a lot of these games, Georgia has blowouts. Not every game is close. They've got a
correct.
lot of blowouts, and
Yeah.
the game's over. You're trying to write your thoughts from the box, Dean. You're trying to get ready to pump those stories out, and then the opponent's taking two timeouts, at the end of the game just to get one last field goal or one last drive in. I get it, but yeah, I mean, I don't really have, I guess, a giant thought process on the 2-minute warning. I didn't even know this was happening until you started the video, but it would be interesting. I like the difference between college and football for a lot of reasons. It seems like they're kind of coming together, maybe a little too much, but I guess I would feel the way of no, don't bring it back. Just let the NFL have their 2-minute warning. Let these college coaches give me all the craziness at the end, and more crazy, probably better without a 2-minute warning for everyone to get together and figure out what they're going to do. But it might make for better football. I don't really know.
I'll tell you, you're not going to get much better than this, what's on the screen right now. This is from our buddies at Red Zone. We've not shown some of their products in a while. They sold out of this, and this is pre-order. You can get this today, and you'll get it later in the spring. Okay, UGA 10 mascot bobblehead. Uh, this was the first production they could not keep them in stock. So make sure that you're checking that link out. I'm going to stick the link down below. Our friends at Red Zone have got it. Obviously, they are we. It would be hard to do what we do without our friends Red Zone's been there longer than anybody else. So um, make sure you're checking that out. That bobblehead sold. They don't have any in the store right now, and it's a very limited run of what they're going to have later this spring. So order it. The link is down below. I agree with part of what you're saying as it relates to let the NFL do its thing. Do we really want college football to become the NFL? I don't. The reason why college football games, Matt, are so much longer, if you want to call it that, they are longer. The reason why they're longer is there's a running clock essentially at all times in the NFL. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
until the 2 minute warning ish time period, the clock is running. In college football, if there's an incomplete pass, it's a stop. Obviously, that's the case in the NFL. But if someone runs out of bounds in the NFL for decades now, the clock just keeps running. I mean, there's got to be, on average, fewer plays in the NFL games than there are in college. I think that from a safety standpoint, that would probably be a good thing too, to have a shorter game. But God, college just can't seem to quite get there yet. I'm not complaining. I'm okay with
Yeah.
longish. I'm okay with longish games. I think once we get to a 4 hour game, that's far too long. But 3 hours and 15 minutes. I mean, most NFL games start at 1 and end about 4. But sometimes if you're watching, well, I was talking about UGA Red Zone, but if you're watching Red Zone on the NFL Network, isn't it called Red Zone?
Yeah.
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 If you're watching that, the time to watch is like 3:55 to 4:10, and like it'll take
Right.
your breath away.
Yeah, a lot going on at once. So it'll be interesting to see how Kirby Smart adapts as a coach and a clock manager with another new rule in college football. We're always talking about which coach can
Well, it's
adapt the
not. Let
best,
me just let me
but
make sure I'm clear
okay,
here. It's not happened, and
not happen.
it's not happened,
Okay,
but it could very well come down the line. I do
okay,
want to ask your opinion on the headsets for Carson Beck or Roquan Smith, whoever's on the field at that particular position. The defensive, I guess, linebackers and the quarterback.
yeah, I'm fine with it. More communication should equal better football. You would think so.
The
Is it only
ACC.
one player
So the
or
ACC, I don't know all of the details. In the NFL, it's the quarterbacks and particular, almost always linebackers. You see the little neon green dot on the helmet. That is a helmet that has that. But I forgot my train of thought there, other than to say, you know, with what happened at Michigan this year, um, the ACC is apparently going to try this coming fall. So not exactly the leaders in innovation in football, the ACC, but I think they're from what I read very quickly, that's coming down the pipe for them too. So I mean, why wouldn't the SEC try this first? Or perhaps they're not quite ready to do it. I mean, what do you think?
there's some smart people over at Virginia and North Carolina and Duke. So I can see it a little bit, but if it works, I bet it's coming to the SEC fairly quickly. They may not have thought about it, but if that enhances the football and the product and the SEC in general, they're going to adapt and say, okay, we'll take that now. Thanks for that idea. We're going to take it and run with it. And who knows what happens? I mean, they do it right in the SEC. It matters more for a reason.
So here's some of the reporting on this. It says that the NCAA at its winter meetings, which this is today, um, the biggest takeaway of the 3 day conference was the implementation of players being able to use in-helmet communication devices during games, allowing instant one-way communication between players on the field and coaches on the sideline. So my assumption here is that the ACC will. And first of all, I don't think this is a bad thing. I don't really know, but they don't have permission yet from the NCAA to do that quite yet. But excuse me, I think that that the one thing that would mean to me, Matt, is you're going to have a lot of no huddle if you're not getting
Yeah.
signals from the sideline. Maybe people will continue to do signals from the sidelines. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it all depends on the part of the game, the down and distance. A lot of variables are going to get into it, but yeah, it makes it easier to go no huddle if that's what you want to do. If you're trying to milk the clock, you're still going to work the clock and huddle up, but it's you can probably audible out of something a little easier than hand signals to everyone, making sure everyone sees you there. But for teams playing on the road, a crazy loud environment, it's going to be easier to have someone in your head telling you than the quarterback trying to communicate everything. And in a place like Athens or Auburn or, Austin, Tuscaloosa, where Georgia might be playing next year, just examples. But I do think that would be a big change to the game, and one that might bring out more positives than negatives in the long run.
Probably more points too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you as the future gets closer.